Bear down, Chicago Bears. We got a show for you today. It's going to be a great show. I don't know. It's going to be up to you. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the content right now. And we've got the leadoff story is going to be today. Matt Eberflus, is he pushing to get Jared Verse here in Chicago? Now, last week, Dallas Turner showed up. This week, we've got Jared Verse. This is the top 30 visits, they call it, and we've got about a week until the draft. And it appears that Jared Verse would be someone that's available right down in that, I want to say, sweet spot where you could maybe trade out of the number 9, move yourself just a little bit down, still get the guy that you're looking for, and be able to pick up some draft capital in that regard. There's a possibility of making a trade down, picking up a second rounder. First of all, we've got 2 first rounders and then a second rounder. That really sort of fills out this team. Now, I do want to state that doesn't give us a ton of depth, but that does give us the starting capacity to have a pretty good season. So, I think that the way that we're playing right now, or the way that everything is kind of working itself out at this point, looks like there might be some opportunities here for this team to pick up some really good pieces. Now, in my draft today, I traded down twice. I passed on Joe Alt. I know that Lord Crimson's probably going to give me grief for that one, but I passed on Joe Alt at the number 9 in order to trade down. And then I passed on Jared Verse at the, I think I want to say it was like the 14 to move down a little bit further. But I think you'll be happy with who I ended up getting. And, I don't know how I did in the rest of the draft. You guys can be the judge of that. But again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, bell to be notified. I did kind of dress up things a little bit so that you can see a little bit of movement and activity as we go through this. And we're going to start off with the question of the day, QOTD. Matt Eberflus, is he the driving force behind the Bears' latest top 30 visit? Now, recent speculation suggested the Bears may look to use the number 9 pick in this year's draft, along with draft capital from 2025, as a way to move up and potentially select Ohio State's Marvin Harrison Jr. And in fact, there are some drafts. I'm going to show you Nick Wright's draft. I think that was one of them where they decided, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen here. However, the trade up scenario appears to be more of a social media fascination than a scenario that has merit within the walls of Hallis Hall. Belief is that the Bears will either keep the selection at 9 or look to move back depending on who is on the board. If a wide receiver such as Roma Dunze or Joe Alt remain on the board when the Bears have their selection within the first 10 picks, there is no doubt that the team would race to the podium in order to submit their selection, which I agree with. But, again, we're fantasy drafting at this point. Of the 3 positions that the Bears are believed to be targeting from the 9th overall position, wide receiver, offensive lineman, and pass rusher, it would seem that pass rusher is the least likely option, though the Bears are still doing their homework on the top pass rushers in this year's draft class. Chances are that if Matt Eberflus has full discretion with who the Bears should pick at number 9, Verse will be the selection. Unlike Alabama's Dallas Turner, Verse is a scheme fit for the defense that the Bears run under Eberflus and would be coveted to complement Montez Sweat. It's hard to envision a scenario where the Bears select Verse if a Dunze or Malik Neighbors are on the board, but the pass rusher could be a fallback option if nothing else. So, potentially, if you're not able to get with the guy that you want at that 9 pick, even if that guy's there, you do have to consider maybe we need some draft capital. Maybe we need a few more players and not just a few more. I don't know what you call it. Maybe we just take these guys and then roll with it and hope for 2025 to get some improvement off of that. I'm not sure that that's the ideal, the principles, the guiding principles, if you will, that we're looking for. But I mean, that's where we are. So potentially, we could see that move down, or who knows? Like at this point, we're all just guessing, wildly speculative of everything. Make sure, by the way, that you leave a comment and that you hit the like button on your way in. Helps push me up in the algorithm, and that gets more people involved early. And guys, if you take the time to hit the like button on your way in, then the end result of this is that, later on in the day, more people end up watching it, and it helps me tremendously. So I would appreciate if you do that. Now let's move on and let's get into 3 players Chicago Bears should trade for during the NFL draft. Now, something that wasn't considered is the possibility and the potential. Now, we did discuss, by the way, Khalil Herbert possibly being on the move. We don't know for sure if that's the case, but we do have some potential there that maybe, just maybe, he would be on the move to somebody like a Dallas Cowboys, where we could make some kind of move. So there's 3 players that the Chicago Bears should trade for during the NFL draft. Again, this is Ryan Heckman. This is an opinion. This is Bears goggles on. The Bears could afford to add some talent up front on the defensive line. The Washington Commanders defensive lineman Jonathan Allen has been a name in trade discussions. The Commanders are in no position to win right now, even though they could be looking at a new franchise quarterback in a matter of days. Allen is one of the best in this position. The 29-year-old's contract runs through 2025, so the Bears would be getting more than a mere rental, which is basically what they're doing with everybody so far. So this would give them at least a defensive lineman. Again, I'm not sure that that's a pressing need, but it is a potential, especially somebody like Jonathan Allen. But we're renting the guy. I mean, it really is a rental for 2 years. So is this the best of moves? I'm not really sure. And what do you give up in order to get that? What is it that you have to give up in order to make something like that happen? Another one that's considered to be an option is T. Higgins. So at this point, would there be a 3-headed monster? If T. Higgins does end up being available for the right price, why not at least give it a try if you're the Bears? The Bears have a clear need at the position beyond Allen and Moore. The next man up is Tyler Scott, who struggled at times during his rookie year to get anything substantial going. The Bears shouldn't be in the business of giving up a future first round pick or anything like that, but if we're talking a couple of other draft selections in exchange for T. Higgins, that would be worth exploring at the very least. He's only 25 years old, has a pair of 1,000-yard seasons under his belt, and last year was a tough season for Higgins as he dealt with injuries, but prior to 2023, he hadn't had any major concerns in that department. Assuming he's fine health-wise, then he'd be one heck of a get for Ryan Poles. Imagine having, if you would, the 3-headed monster of Caleb Williams throwing to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and T. Higgins. That would be a fantastic combination. Plus, consider that there's still Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet. This would be 5 legitimate threats at receiver. And Tyler Scott, I assume he's going to make it at least an advancement and get a little bit better. So if that is the case, then perhaps this is a great opportunity. And then finally, what's old is new again, because now there's some talk about bringing back Khalil Mack. The Chargers had a whole lot of work to do in the offseason with a roster that features some expensive aging veterans. Yes, they were able to agree with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack on contract restructures. However, just how close do the Chargers feel they are to competing in the AFC? If the Chargers want to try and look beyond 24 and 25 in order to get younger and fill some holes, then trading one of Bosa or Mack would still make a lot of sense, even though their contracts have been worked on a bit. Even though Mack took a pay cut, his cap hit in 2024 is still over $25 million. The Bears need an edge rusher, which they very well could obtain with that number 9 overall pick, or they could trade some 2025 capital to bring back an old friend. Imagine Mack coming in and playing opposite Montez Sweat with a strong linebacker group behind him and an ascending young and talented secondary. So that would be an interesting opportunity if the Bears were to make that. And I think, as we see here, guys, it seems like the focus on this entire article was, for the most part, the defense or getting a new wide receiver. There are still problems with this team that we have yet to address that need to be improved upon. So I don't think this is a viable move, but it's something potential. Crimson says, I'd rather bolster the line and give the kid a chance to throw than just another target. And I think I would too. But I think we disagree just a little bit on how good the offensive line is. I think that the offensive line that we're going to see next year is more comparable to the offensive line that we saw at the end of the season that was performing fairly well, as opposed to what we saw at the beginning of the season, which was basically like a sieve trying to hold water and was an absolute disaster. I think we do have to look at the entire picture, and we have to recognize that there were problems with the team and that there were problems with the people on that line, but it was not untenable and it was not horrible. It was just, I think they improved as they went along. So I would give the benefit of doubt in that context. So I think that they could be a much better team going into it. Now, there is an NFL mock draft that just came up from NFL.com, Fox Sports. I apologize. Nick Wright has the Bears going for Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, here's how he decides that they're going to get there. So, with the first pick, Chicago is going to take Caleb Williams. With the second pick, Washington Commanders are going to take Jaden Daniels. New England Patriots will pick J.J. McCarthy. The Giants go with Drake May. And then the Chicago Bears will trade with the Chargers up to number 5. The Bears would receive the number 5 pick. The Chargers would then receive the number 9 pick, and the Panthers 2025 second round pick. That would give the Chicago Bears Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair with. And by the way, I don't think that that's enough to move up from 9 to 5. I think it would take a little bit more than that to get into that position. But I mean, the potential, I guess, it exists for something like that to happen. The Chargers do need some capital. So if you could get lucky, maybe. But that also that also means that you have to consider that the New York Giants are moving up to trade with the Cardinals, who do covet Marvin Harrison Jr. This has the Arizona Cardinals moving down to number 6 and taking Malik Neighbors at number 6. Then you have Joe Alt going to the Titans, Dallas Turner to Alabama, Roma Dunze going to the Chargers at number 9, and then rounding it out, number 10, Brock Bowers going to the New York Jets. So, not sure I like that overall. However, it's an opportunity, or it's at least a potential. It's a potential decent situation for the team. I'm not sure. I'm a big fan of this move, really, and I don't know that. I mean, guys, what do you think? I mean, do you think that there's a solid way that the Bears move into the top 5 for 2 picks in that top 5 without giving up too much? I mean, that's the question. Are you giving up too much? Now, when I say that, remember, I am the person who told you specifically that I believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. is that generational talent. So, would you give up what you could get in improving the team in order to grab this guy? First of all, know that Keenan Allen probably is there for a year. After that year, he may not be around. We may not. There may not be a situation in which we could get Keenan Allen for a longer period of time. He's going to be expensive, even if he's on the downside of his career. He's performed at a high level for a lot of years. Even if he drops off, he's still better than what we had last year for sure. But again, I think that there are some other options. Again, at number 9, you could still potentially get somebody like Roma Dunze or something like that. I took Johnny Wilson in my draft today. But you also have Roman Wilson. You have a plenty of other receivers that are out there. Xavier Worthy, who did come in and work out for the Bears just recently. I don't like Xavier. I think he's too small. But I mean, Tyler Scott's not much bigger, so maybe it's a quick swap there. But anyway, what do you think of that? To me, doesn't seem like a good idea. Doesn't seem like the right thing to do. But here's good news, which has been a very tough thing, is that Caleb Williams is winning over Bears fans on social media. Now, I don't know if you agree with that or not. The fact that Poles has given up so much draft capital already gives it serious Ryan Pace vibes. Potentially. However, I mean, the one thing that I would say about Ryan Pace is that I don't think that he understood how to fashion a team. And I mean, basically, he dismantled a team that was already decent when they came in. I mean, they did take that first season team to the playoffs with that draft and just a few minor changes to the team. Like, I don't think that, they didn't do a great job, but they also, didn't fall apart. They got there and they were only a double doink away from the NFC Championship. So, maybe um, maybe it wasn't so bad. However, I mean, we look at the product on the field and we know that he did not upgrade this team nearly to the level. I mean, he brought in, Khalil Mack, he brought in some big stuff, but overall, like this team was just kind of deteriorating under that regime. And I don't think the same thing is happening with Ryan Poles. And by the way, I do want to say, if you remember, there were 46 people that were in the open at the open free agency thing for local talent around here. So, and there were some really good players, college level players that were available, maybe not to be drafted, but to be signed as free agents, stuff like that. There are, I don't know that we're really in that same position. I don't think so. I think that Ryan Pace had problems, and he did not understand how. I think he was a little bit too infatuated with skill position and not necessarily really in tune with what you need on a defense in order to win, what you need on an offensive line in order to win. I mean, let's remember here, they've been one of the worst offensive lines under Ryan Pace ever, and they were coming off of being the worst under Mark Trestman. I mean, pick a fucking guy from Lovey Smith on. Lovey Smith, I guess, not too bad, but I mean, the line has deteriorated tremendously, and he didn't do anything to fix it. So the one thing that I can say about Ryan Poles is that line does seem to be quite a bit more stable. We didn't see how good this line really is. I think it is my opinion would be that this is this is the first decent line that we've had in a number of years. And I think that Justin Fields did no service by holding the ball too long. If we had a quarterback making faster decisions and faster reads, this offensive line, like you got to help your offensive line. And Justin Fields did not help the offensive line. Now, he did rush for a lot, and they were a good rushing offensive line. We can complain about the offensive line as much as we want, but we have to focus on pass protection because it was the number one rushing offense in the NFL. So I'm hesitant to say that we weren't number one at rushing in all those pace years. Well, I mean, I think we were pretty good. I mean, in fact, I think the Bears are always kind of okay at rushing the ball. It's always been something that by the way, get ready to be disappointed this year. You know what I mean? Like, I got a feeling that we're probably going to have a problem with this team going into it. But anyway, so what this says is besides one of the most, uh, Williams already caused a ripple by refuting charges by ESPN analyst Eric McElroy on social media. It's not uncommon for a Bears quarterback to get on social media and fire off some clever comments answering criticism. Perhaps Jay Cutler could have been far more popular if he had mastered this. On Saturday, Williams engaged in some laughable moments over a tweet fake video of him dancing. One also was done of a team aboard George McCaskey. And this was, by the way, if you guys did not see it, this is the one that's been going around everywhere, and it's one of the high ones, and it was just Caleb Williams coming out. I'm not even sure what concert this is, by the way. There was also another back and forth over his fashion statements, entirely done tongue in cheek by Williams. This one was about what he'll be wearing at the draft announcement when Roger Goodell calls his name. His pink phone and painted nails have been the object of discussion this week and last week, and he responded to comments and he said, "How y'all do this stuff?" Then perhaps it's also because he's not currently involved in learning an offense, and later will be busy, but maybe not. He's always been a social media voice and has 133,000 followers for at Caleb CSW. The problem with all of this is that the team wants from a quarterback. They no doubt prefer limited player involvement in this manner. Justin Fields always chose his social media participation very carefully. Such things can be a distraction in their view. It all brings back the memory of Mitchell Trubisky saying the team should turn off all the TVs at Hallis Hall to keep all negativity away. There's nothing wrong with quarterbacks loving to be closer to the fans. Fields actually did it by signing a lot of autographs instead of being involved in back and forth with them on Twitter or X or posting things on Instagram. And then, of course, this is what somebody said was going to be Caleb on draft night. And Crimson, it's I don't think it's Coachella. That came out. I mean, it could be. It could have been like the first night or something like that. I don't even know who that was. but there is an AI generator that allows you to just take a picture of somebody, and then it just you can turn that person into you can turn that person into that guy on the stage, and it covers the front and the back. Like, it uses AI to imagine what the front and back of the person looks like. I don't know exactly how it's done yet, because I haven't seen it, And then in the meantime, Caleb Williams out here just playing around says, anybody seen the new King Kong Godzilla? So he really doesn't care. Uh, and then Caleb Williams, here's another one that was done, and this is George McCaskey after Caleb Williams breaks the generational curse. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So, shout out to Caleb Williams for keeping it light. I mean, the important thing here is, what we're looking for is somebody who can just shrug it off, because we've got a lot of people, again, about, pink phone, pink fingernails, stuff like that. People want to attack somebody's manhood. And I would argue that it takes more of a man to walk out in front of people, especially when you're a quarterback and you're a leader of a team, to walk out like that and set your own style. And if you don't agree with this style, that's fine. If you don't like pink, cool, whatever. If you prefer navy, if you prefer orange, whatever you prefer, your favorite color, blue or red or whatever. If you don't like pink and you think that's for girls, I- you know, I don't have an answer for you other than you shouldn't be offended by a color. Like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Although if you're making a good joke about it, it's still funny. It's still okay for you to make a joke about it, and it's still okay for it to be funny, without just, he was looking like, and he was looking like, he was getting it on. So, but next move, we've got, because today is the day the grind begins. The Bears return for conditioning work. So they returned Monday to Hallis Hall for the offseason conditioning program prior to the start of the OTAs. The Bears returned to Hallis Hall for their conditioning program. At the owners' meeting, Eberflus described what he likes about the conditioning part of the offseason, as well as organized team activities later. What I love is when the players come back. This is going to be critical, 9 or 10 weeks into the offseason before we go to summer break. So that's going to be fun. To be able to bring those guys together is, and I said this last year, the most important part that we have besides scheming in relationships. So we're going to do a great job of intermixing the team to make sure that we get to know each other on a personal level, on a deeper level than just football, because I think that's the glue that holds together. The steel is at the middle of your football team, is the relationship piece to it. Now, listen, I last year, when you compare last year, and Matt Eberflus just walks in and says, "Hey, we're just gonna do like last year." Last year, you weren't ready to play, so I hope there's something different that's happening this year. And I'm not I'm assuming that you recognized it. I'm assuming that you saw it. I'm assuming that you're addressing it and making sure that everybody is ready to play and ready for success. But at this point, I don't know for sure that that is the case. So all the offseason work is voluntary, except for the mandatory mini camp June 4 to 6. There are 67 players on the roster, including 16 at Hallis Hall, who haven't been there in the past seasons. After April 27, there will be a good many more to join as draft picks or undrafted free agents, and some unrestricted free agents in the secondary market as well. Here are the new Bears at Hallis Hall working on April 15. So the new Bears, the people that we're looking at right now, are Keenan Allen, Ryan Bates, Kevin Byard, Byron Cowart, Jake Curran, Gerald Everett, Jacob Martin, Tarvarius Moore, Amin Ogbenamigma, Jonathan Owens, Matt Pryor, Coleman Shelton, Douglas Coleman, Michael Dwumfer, Cameron Lyons, and Corliss Waitman. During the first 2 weeks of conditioning, according to the NFL Players Association, the Bears are limited to strength and conditioning. If they're on the practice field, they are limited to working with strength and conditioning coaches, and no one can be on the field for more than 90 minutes. During the conditioning aspect, 2 hours of work are allowed. Quarterbacks can throw to receivers with no coverage. Kickers and punters can kick, but no one can field it, and there are no snappers or long holders. Long snappers can snap, but only into a net. Defensive players can't catch the ball regardless regardless of who throws it. In the next phase, up to 4 hours of work are allowed, and regular coaches can be on the field. All OTAs starting May 20th. They can have 7-on-7, 9-on-7, and 11-on-11 drills, but no pads or contacts are allowed. There will be a rookie mini camp after the draft and mandatory mini camp June 4 through 6. I'm worried about that, but I don't think it's going to be horrible. I think it's just going to be I'm not sure. What I got from them last year was that there was a lot of. I mean, look, the team was feeling like they were ready to compete. Like the team really felt like, or addressed it in the preseason, like they were just ready to go. Like they couldn't wait. That they were doing everything right. It was feeling good. And then you saw. I mean, the first 4 games. The first 3 games. The first 3 games were an absolute disaster. And you might be able to look at it and say, well, you know what, those were probably superior teams. And you know what, fair enough. But when you got to Denver, Denver was the worst team in the league at that point. Even the Bears, who were 0-3, people were looking at Denver like, man, Denver is horrible. And then you lose to Denver. So this team was clearly not ready to compete. And you can blame a lot of different things on it. I mean, that defense was not very good. They were not coalescing. The offense was disjointed and was not coalescing. We ended up having a good run after those first 4 games. I would say that, again, if you take those games out, then the Bears finished the season. Again, this did lead to the next game after that, Minnesota, and then getting injured and losing that game, by the way. But when you take that out, then the Bears were 7-6 for the remaining part of the season. Is that enough to make the playoffs? No, but it was better. So maybe, just maybe, this team is going to appear to be a little bit better. And also, you know what? I think so. Crimson, I think the first drive actually felt pretty good, and then it just fell apart from there. You know what I mean? Like I felt like in the first part of it, like you could see there were problems, but I think we were up 3-0, and then all of a sudden it just went awry from there, some shit like that. So I you can't give up 38 points and expect to win in the NFL, not consistently. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I hope that these OTAs turn this team into a better representation overall. So going into conditioning, and hopefully this is going to be really good for the team. Now we're gonna hear it on the X. We beat mostly teams picking in the top 13 in the draft. I think I don't know where that stat comes from with the top 13, and I would agree. But look, I mean, that's half of the teams basically. So we beat the lower half of the team. So we were mediocre at best. So that's 9-8, 8-9. You know what I mean? Like again, I think the team should have been 10-7. I think they should have been 11-6 actually. But I mean, I'll grant it. And by the way, I am going full Clay Harbor Maxi on my X today. So we're going to hear it on the X right now. First of all, in Mel Kiper and Field Yates 3-round mock today, the Bears got number 1, Caleb Williams, number 9, Roma Dunze, and then number 75, Kieran Emagaji, offensive tackle out of Yale, who I tried to get, by the way, and son of a bitch if I didn't miss out on him. I traded down in my draft. You'll see in just a second. I thought I was going to get this guy. I had him in my sights, and I traded down 2 spots or 3 spots. I traded down 3 spots on one of my trade downs. Son of a bitch. Somebody reached way down to pick him up because he was actually, I think it was at my 75 selection. I think at that point I was like, you know what? I'm going to trade down because he's listed as the number 94 overall player in the draft. So maybe I can just move down into, I think I was like 83. Like I didn't move down far. I'll show you in a minute. But I moved down not very far, and then boom, somebody took him immediately right afterwards. So, but I thought that was going to be my guy. And then I ended up, I don't remember who I took. We'll look at it in just a second. Next up, this is the thing that's got to infuriate everybody who is a Chicago fan. Every team's last 30 plus touchdown passer, every single team has one except the Bears. Now, you can look at, I mean, you can look around and you can see the dates on it. And you can see like none for Chicago ever had 30 touchdowns. I mean, and by the way, Caleb Williams probably be the first. You know what I mean? Like I think he really is. I think he really is that potential guy right now. But Brian Sipe in 1980 for the Browns is the last time they did it. Another one is Dan Marino in 1994 for the Dolphins. Then there was one more that was like wild. 1967 from the Washington Commanders, Sonny Jurgensen. So that was the last time some of these guys, and of course the Bears have never done it. So it's going to be real interesting. It's going to be real interesting what's going on there. And yeah, guys, if you would please hit that like button, helps push me up in the algorithm. It doesn't cost you anything to do. It's there's no harm in hitting that like button and doing that. So 30 touchdowns. I really like to see that fall in the first year, by the way, because that's one of those crazy statistics that that's fucking gross. And then anyway, Clay also asked the question, DJ Moore's first year in Chicago, 96 receptions, 1,364 yards, and 9 total touchdowns. What will his 2024 stat line be with Caleb Williams? Do you think that he will have a better season than he had this year? 96 receptions, 1,364 yards, and 9 total touchdowns. I mean, when you look at that overall, like you got to like what happened here with DJ Moore. You really have to like the results here. However, he was the only one. You know what I mean? Cole Kmet, he was okay. I mean, that was that was a good one. Camus 4 says I'd pass on Joe Alt. I did actually pass on Joe Alt today, which is going to drive Crimson crazy. But I actually let's move on here. Defensive roster, no changes. Offensive roster, no changes. Here was my draft. I'm going to close this out with that. Caleb Williams is the one that I took at number 1, and then I moved down from number 9. I moved down a couple times, and then at number 27, I was able to get Jackson Powers Johnson, and I feel like that was probably the best move that I could possibly make at that point. And then I was able to pick up from both of those trades, 2 trades down. I traded down to I think 15, and then from 15 I traded down to 27. And then I was able to pick up at 56 Braylon Trice, edge rusher out of Washington. Which is he a starter? Is he a player? He's a pass rusher. So being a pass rusher, that's what we need. I need a positional guy. I don't need somebody who's I don't need the every down guy. I've already got that in DeMarcus Walker. And again, the more I watch DeMarcus Walker lately, the more I'm like, God damn it, maybe I misjudged this guy. Maybe he actually is getting better. Maybe, maybe this is a pretty good. But anyway, I took Braylon Trice. And then I took Jonathan Brooks at 75 as a running back. And then that's where at number 75, I had already lost him. Or no, I'm sorry. At 75, I took Jonathan Brooks because he was at 94 and I had another draft pick at number 81. That's what it was. And he was still available. So I traded from 81 to 87, thinking that, well, the number 94 pick is going to still be there. And of course, he was not. Somebody took Karen Amaji at that point. So at 87, I took Mason Smith, defensive tackle. And then at number 90, I took Johnny Wilson, wide receiver out of Florida State. So what I did was I think I got Caleb Williams, obviously a starter, and then Jackson Powers Johnson, obviously a starter. Braylon Trice, I think that DeMarcus Walker is going to be the starter no matter what, unless we make a trade, a big trade. So I think that's the settled one. Then I took Jonathan Brooks because I did remember DeAndre Swift. Like, I don't think we have, I think we're going to be moving on. We're going to need one more person. You know what I mean? Like we got to have at least another guy in that running back room, at least for next year. DeAndre Swift, I don't know how long we keep him, but I know Khalil Herbert, I think this is his 4th year. And I'm pretty sure they want to move on to Roschon Johnson anyway, from what we were looking at last year by passing. And the fact that they kept Roschon Johnson in that rotation heavily, might be because they had to do it because of Deonta Foreman. But I mean, it's It just seemed like somebody who would fit into what we needed at that point. Then number 87, Mason Smith, he starts backing up Gervon Dexter, and we see how see how he comes along. Andrew Billings gonna be coming up pretty soon. I don't know if we're gonna re-sign him or not. So you're gonna have to have another defensive tackle in that room. And then Johnny Wilson, which I mean, again, we're looking for a slot receiver. Johnny Wilson has that speed, so potentially he sits behind Tyler Scott. So gets an opportunity later on. So I think that there's a lot of potential here. But after Caleb Williams and Jackson Powers Johnson, look, I think that once you get Jackson Powers Johnson out there, you've basically fixed most of the offensive line, or as much as you're going to fix immediately. And again, at number 9, I did pass on Joe Alt. Uh, and I think Crimson, I think the same thing. I think that Herbert is better than Swift, but it's also at running the ball. He's not better. Khalil Herbert is not better at receiving. Roshan Johnson is by far the better receiver in that backfield. And this is Shane Waldron, so he's going to want to throw the ball a lot. And we're going to start to see logical screen passes, not Luke Getzey screen passes on every down for a while. You know what I mean? Like I think we're gonna see something a little bit different this year, a much more downfield sort of approach. Not that Luke Getzey didn't want to throw the ball downfield, but Justin Fields couldn't deliver consistently in that situation. So, and I do think that he would have gotten better. I'm not debating Justin Fields at this point. Just saying that he was not getting it done, and you know I think that Shane Waldron is going to be pushing the ball down the field. And, two tight end sets, two receiver sets. I think, it's a great opportunity to have DeAndre Swift involved, because now if you do that, then you've got 4 receivers. You've got Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, and you're able to scheme to get DeAndre Swift into the game a little bit more from that backfield, and let him just kind of mingle in with the line, do a little bit of blocking. By the way, he is a better blocker than Khalil Herbert. I've been reading up on it. He was a much better blocker than Khalil Herbert, but as far as running goes, I think Khalil Herbert is better. So I think he'll also get a lot of playing time, and I think that his playing time will be to showcase him a little bit, to create some value, because I think that he's probably trade bait at this point, and they're probably looking for somebody at a different position for Khalil Herbert. So which is why somebody like Jonathan Brooks probably becomes one of those important guys that you bring in to kind of showcase and do something about. So that's it, guys. How do we do? I think we did okay. So I guess that's it. So there we go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is not I was gonna say it's not financial, but bear down. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you again very, very soon. You guys have a good day, and we'll see you.